Hello, people. How are you all doing? Welcome to the Cricket Hotspot, recording from Toronto, Canada. We are in the midst of a very gripping series. I have with me my co-host Sarthak Shah.
Hey folks.
And today we review the first test, what happened, what could have gone right for India, what didn't go right for India. By the way, India lost if you did not check the score yet.
I'm pretty sure everyone checked that, but in any case, for the uninitiated,
Yes.
the result was India lost by 196 runs and England scored a amazing victory over the world number one ranked side right now.
It was sort of a depleted attack, but we'll talk more about that when we review the first match, and also we talk about the moment of the week, which is the introduction of DRS to around 3 years ago. That was in the India Sri Lanka series,
and that's great. And before we get started, I'd just like to mention something. The feedback that we've been getting has been pretty great, so thank you everyone for that. But one of the criticism that we got for our podcast was that it is too India-centric, or say too top two team-centric. But the only thing that I'd like to mention right now is that since the only series going on in world cricket is the India-England series, the major series, that's the one we are covering. And as the other series will come, I think in the near future we have the Sri Lanka-Australia series and the Bangladesh-Zimbabwe tours. Those ones we'll be covering, time permitting, for sure. And we will be going in-depth into most of them. And so I think everyone should have something to listen to or look forward to as we go on. Now let's jump into our main discussion topic for the day, which would be the just concluded India-England first test at Lord's.
Yeah.
And your thoughts on that?
It was a 2000 test. It was a big occasion. Seemed that India wasn't ready for the big occasion. First day, they won the toss. It seemed like they were still in the World Cup mode where they were relaxed. They did not attack so much. And obviously, the first day we got the worst gift. That is the injury of Zahir Khan. He took 2 wickets. He was the most lethal of the all 4 bowlers. Zahir was a big blow.
For sure, and I think it would be a little harsh to call them, to say that they were in the World Cup hangover. I think the only reason was they probably did not have enough time to get accustomed to the conditions. But when you're playing at this level, you have to adapt as quick as possible. I would say that the only thing lacking was match practice. The amount of movement the Indian seamers were getting, if England was bowling, India would have been bowled out much quicker. Then England held on to only 2 wickets down with 120 on board, which was an ideal launch pad for them to go on to the second morning and attack, which KP did later on in his innings. But I think the way they batted on the first day, the 2 sessions which were available, with one being washed out, I think that could have shaped the match.
Yeah.
And potentially KP's innings, obviously 200 runs in an innings, if one of your batsmen scores 200, that is...
And on a moving track.
Absolutely. So that was amazing application on his behalf to stay at the crease and score those many runs.
Yeah.
I think that was a perfect example for the Indian batsmen of how they should have approached the game, but I think we failed to do that.
Another thing that actually came up during the test match, the pattern was that people who went to the West Indies did well and the people who didn't struggled. Was it because it was Lord's the venue, or what was it? Because Indians generally have not played well at Lord's. Their record is almost pathetic. That also can be said because Lord's is generally the first ground in India of the English tour, and Indians generally are not good starters of a test series. But is it Lords, or is it not going to West Indies, or is it IPL? What do you think?
I think you make a good point there that India has traditionally not been a great starter in series. Yeah. So be it 2-match series or 5-match series, India traditionally doesn't start too well. They get better as the series progresses.
Very, very good.
But what was heartening to see was the way Suresh Raina played and the way Praveen Kumar bowled. Yeah. I think those two are the biggest positives from an Indian point of view. Let's say Pryor and Dhoni. What's your take on those?
I think Dhoni was sort of a bellwether of how India perform. He was not to his true Dhoni-ness. To, let's say, he was not exploding. He missed a couple of catches. He actually misjudged the catch. He was standing too far back to Praveen Kumar in the first innings. So it was all going wrong for Dhoni, and especially in the first innings, it was a very tough test for Dhoni and his glove work. Obviously, prior being more experienced and just hit a century against Sri Lanka at Lords, so he definitely knew the conditions a lot more, and he definitely looks like a batsman ready to play any conditions now in Test at least.
Absolutely, I think his contribution played a great part towards England's victory, because when they were 66 for 5, I think when he or 4 wickets when he walked in, and they were really struggling with 66 for 5. But he went on to score an attacking century, and I think that made a big difference to their first innings total. Because let's say if India had 50 or 70 runs less to chase, they would have gone in with a different mindset. They wouldn't have been overly defensive. They wouldn't have gone for the win for sure, knowing India. But they would have gone with a different mindset, and they would have backed themselves to play out the day's play.
Also, he made sure that they used the best conditions available. It was sunny. It was not moving at that time that he came, and he just played well. He very complete innings from a good keeper.
So Dhoni definitely needs to step up his game, at least as a batsman, and make some useful contribution
I think he will.
to the next test.
Innings.
So let's talk about the two spinners now, Harbhajan and Graham Swan.
No comparison. I think
Well put.
Swan is definitely a more accomplished spinner in English conditions. I think the main difference between Swan and Harbhajan is their actually actions. The ball drifts a lot more for Swan, so there is an exaggerated appeal of spin when it turns because of the drift towards offside, and I think Harbhajan needs to get that drift back. He had that drift early on in his innings when he was bowling well. Now he just bowls flat off stump with no spin, so he really needs to develop that side of the game, and it is important, at least in countries like England where it traditionally does not spin. And sadly, as a batsman, Harbhajan will struggle because these conditions move around, and he is a shot maker. So in moving conditions, shot makers generally do not perform as good.
Definitely, he's not a batsman, so that doesn't come naturally to him, but he's done well with whatever opportunities he's got in subcontinental conditions. What I think is he's a bowler first, and if a bowler cannot get you wickets, there's no point of him being in the team as a batsman, and I definitely think that he should be kicked out for the next test. But I don't think the only reason why he's surviving is because of a lack of a quality spinner in the team who we can get at his expense. Also, the fact that his reputation is such that the teams are scared of him. Probably not so much now, but he lives off his reputation, which a lot of bowlers do nowadays, of what he's built up over the years. And agreed that if he gets that one innings where he picks up 3 or 4 wickets, he's a fighter. He'll come back and he'll probably do that. But the point being that he's too loose. For a spinner taking only 1 wicket in a match and giving away close to 200 runs, that is, you cannot be called a strike bowler if those are your figures. And this is not a recent trend. It has been going on for some time now. We struggle to take wickets, and he only takes wickets in spurts. If you are the strike bowler of the team, you need to take wickets consistently. There is absolutely no alternative to that.
I think every bowler goes through a phase, and I'm sure he will improve. He's definitely a good talisman for the team. He makes things happen, but he really needs to improve on certain aspects of his game, and he's definitely a competitor, so he'll definitely come back. Swan, on the other hand, got a lot of spin. He was troubling the likes of Dravid on sort of seaming conditions, so that was very, very, very heartening to see a spinner doing well at Lords. It generally does not happen. Good to see him doing well.
Alright then, now let's talk a little bit about the men who got their names on the honours board. Do you want to start off with them?
I think the first one obviously has to be Kevin Pietersen, 202. During his stay, it was a very there were two Petersons actually. One Peterson who was in his shell and for his first 50, and there was another Peterson who was actual Peterson from his 51 to 202. Especially his last 50 came off 25 balls. So it was good to see him back in form. And as we mentioned in the last podcast, if KP comes back to form, boy oh boy, India are in big trouble. That's the exact phrase.
Absolutely, and I think there was a really good innings from him, and I think Strauss wasn't exaggerating when he said it's one of the finest innings he's seen a batsman play in recent times. And for him to stay there at the crease initially when PK was working him over with beautiful swingers initially, and to survive that period and to see it through and get past not only his half century but reached a double, which was an amazing achievement on a wicket that was moving so much.
I think he got his double because India had given up at the end. They allowed him to. They became so defensive. He shouldn't have gotten his double. He should have maybe 100 was justified. But this innings reminded me of his 2005 Ashes Oval Test innings where he scored 158. That was, I think, his best innings. This comes close to that. Much we missed another part-time bowler during his innings. Raina was good, but we needed a better part-time bowler. Maybe a Tendulkar, although he's gone through that phase of his life now. Maybe a Yuvraj. That's where I think a left armer would have actually done a number on him.
That would have been an interesting battle.
Yeah, that would have been an interesting battle. Next one to get Praveen Kumar, Pfeiffer, a lone bowler. One thing that was really good to see was him bowling, I think, 20 to 25 overs in one innings with Zahir not there, just bowling like a spinner, bowling as much as a spinner and bowling with the same sustained hostility and swinging all the way through the innings. 2 overs with 2 wickets in each over, so that was also very good to see. Your take on PK?
I think one of the most amazing things about him is he's really aware about what his strengths and what his weaknesses are. That is the most important thing, and he knows he's a mid-120s bowler. He doesn't try to bowl 140. He doesn't have the pace for it, but he knows exactly where to pitch the ball. He knows how to make the ball talk using the swing and the seam and not the pace. And I think that is the most amazing thing about him. He can never be the great bowler that Dale Steyn is destined to be because of his pace and swing, but he does amazingly well with what God has given him at his pace.
I think one thing that was good to see with him was that he was the one who troubled the most in-form English batsman that we have seen for the last 6 to 8 months. There was Cook. Cook in the first innings got so much trouble. The ball was landing outside leg and was going on top of off stump, so that it was swinging so much, and it was good to see him doing well in English conditions as we predicted he would in the last podcast. So it was definitely a test for PK and KP. The next man to get was Rahul Dravid. Day 3, brilliant innings, one of his best, we would say. India had back to their walls, and he really performed like he does.
Yeah, I think, again, I cannot exaggerate on his contribution to the Indian team, but to stay there and bat it out like he did, like a champion, that was amazing to see when everyone around him was falling and they had no idea what the ball was doing, but he stayed there, saw the team through to as long as he could, and remain not out till the end. That was the most important part.
Yeah, remain not out, and it was also very sad to see that actually nobody could stay with him, because Rahul Dravid is that kind of a player that you need an aggressive batsman to stay with him to make runs, and he will give you one stable end. So that was the reason why India got out for 250 odd. So it was important that he needed a partner.
If not for his contribution, I think India would have lost much earlier.
They would have lost by an innings, at least by an innings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Moving on to our fourth member on the honours board was Matt Pryor for his attacking century in the second innings for England.
To be fairly honest, he looked good. but it wasn't as hyped as it was made out to be. It was a depleted attack, let's be honest. Okay, he was good in that he negotiated one of the most hostile spells on English soil by an international bowler in the recent memory. So that was actually Ishan Sharma. So in that way it was good, but after that India's bowling became toothless. The ball became old. It was the best batting conditions on that day. So it was good, okay, but we have certainly seen better.
It was good though for him to stand up and get counted when the team was down at 66 for 5, and for him to contribute so much towards the team cause and attackingly scoring a century. That in fact was really important because that gave England time to declare and bowl out India with almost a session to spare.
Yeah, that was something special, and also managing the strike with Stuart Broad, who's not as accomplished a batsman as he is.
Absolutely.
That was also good to see.
Which brings us to our next person on the honours board, which was last day heroics, James Anderson.
Yeah, James Anderson. You can say James Anderson became lucky when he got Rahul Dravid's first wicket. That was a poke outside off. It shouldn't have come from the likes of Rahul Dravid. That actually gave him confidence. His first innings bowling was nothing special. He was lacking in confidence, and when you get the batsman who was not out during the first innings out, it certainly does wonders for your confidence.
And absolutely, I think the biggest wicket he got was Sachin Tendulkar, who he now has dismissed 6 times, and that's the most for any bowler against Sachin Tendulkar. That's a big achievement in itself.
Honorable mentions?
These are the people who did not make it to the honors board, but deserve a special mention because of their influence on the match.
First one being Stuart Broad. Your take on Stuart Broad?
Absolutely. I think for him this was a really important match because he was fighting with Tim Bresnan for a place in the squad, and for him to come back from a relatively weak or lean patch and to deliver in such a way was really good because in both the innings he was putting the balls in the right areas and he had the batsmen in trouble. I think beating Rahul Dravid 5 or 6 times is an achievement in itself for a man who's so complete
Just
in
one
his
time
technique.
is an achievement.
For a man who's so complete in his technique and so compact, I think for him to have Dravid in trouble regularly was a really good spell, and his effort with the bat also.
Yeah, I would like to correct you on one thing, that it was not a small patch. It was a huge patch where he was going for 1 for 100, and it was a terrible lean patch, and that was the reason why I said Bresnan should play. Although he improved a lot in this series, in this match, you saw him pitching the ball up, you saw him swinging it away, and generally in English conditions you would swing it away if you pitch it up, or you would swing it if you pitch it up. So definitely very well bowled. At least batting was good because again, depleted attack, maybe not, but definitely he bowled really well. He should have gotten the wicket of the great SRT in the second innings.
I think another mention goes out to Chris Tremlett. Although he did not get as many wickets, but I think he played his part in intimidating the batsmen and helping his fellow bowlers take wickets. What do you think about him?
Yes, sometimes you need to do that for your team to be successful. You need one person to work up the batsman and the other to actually take the wickets. Sometimes it may not be fair on their wickets tally. Their importance should not be missed. So Chris Tremlett really did bowl well.
I think his spells in both the innings where he was getting the ball to rise consistently from a length and had batsmen in trouble, even Sachin Tendulkar. So
Yeah.
I think his wicket in the first innings to Broad can partly be attributed to what Tremlett was doing from the other end.
Yeah, Tremlett sort of reminded of Glenn McGrath, who bowled lengths, and people like Shane Warne got the people who were worked up by Glenn McGrath pulling that channel and not actually scoring off him. So you need one bowler like that.
And I think last but not the least, a mention goes out for Suresh Raina, the only batsman in India's second innings who sort of looked like he was in control. Well, apart from Dravid and Lakshman, who did play out a session to save India, but Raina was the one who was holding it together towards the end of the day, towards the end of the match.
Yeah, Raina, it's a very important tour for Raina. I mean, if he does well, he has cemented his spot. They're definitely one of the more rising talents in India. The man definitely has talent. He has sort of a sense of occasion. He performs well in key matches. Has a golden arm. Again, in this Test match, we saw him taking a wicket when India really needed him.
I think time and again he showed what a reliable character he is.
Yeah.
Be it the World Cup quarterfinals, semi-finals, or be it the West Indies tour, be it this test in England. He's time and again showed that he has a very cool head and he can play when the pressure is, the chips are down and then there's pressure.
Yeah.
So that is a really important quality for a sports person, be it cricket or any other game.
Yeah, and he's young, and he'll definitely improve. He'll definitely make runs. And this tour of England will actually be a statement that actually he'll make, because England is supposed to be a country where his technique should not shine, and if his technique shines in England, he will make a statement that I can play anywhere in every condition possible, not just in subcontinent where the ball doesn't bounce. They actually tried a lot of bouncers, and they were not successful against Raina. So very well played, Suresh Raina.
So that was that, guys, the people who got their names on the honors board. Now let's run you through which we thought the 5 moments of the test were.
Okay, the 5 moments, we'll pick one moment from each day that just changed the course of the match on each day, and it sort of added to the beauty of test match cricket. First day, there is no question about it, Zahir's injury.
Absolutely.
It really ensured that all the demons of 2007 English tour of the English batsmen were sorted out, and even he may not be available for the second test. So
In short, it ensured an English victory.
An English victory, because main bowler gets injured during the first day of the test match, it does not bode well for your team at all.
Absolutely, and the way he got both the openers out. Now remember, Cook has been in amazing form throughout last more than a year, actually, and to get him out for 1 or 2, I think it was, or something like that.
Yeah, it was very quick.
That was amazing. He had a couple of balls moving away from the left hander, and then one coming in and caught Cook on the crease. Beautiful. And again, he got his so-called bunny, Strauss, trying to hook a ball that came onto him a little faster than he expected, top edging it to Ishant. So again, him removing both the openers who have been in good form, mind you, and then getting injured was obviously a big, big blow for India. Moving on to the second day, let's talk about the moment that turned the match. I think it was definitely Kevin Peterson's last 50 runs, which came off, I think, around 25 balls. So from his 150 to 200, just came in 25 balls. That was amazing. I think he had the go-ahead to go after the bowling. They wanted to set an attacking score, declared, and so that they could bowl at India that on the evening of the second day. And what do you think about that particular passage of play?
He made excellent use of India being tired, India having a depleted attack, and India not having a left arm spinner, sadly. So it was definitely his shining hour. But I would like to remind everybody that it was not best strength Indian bowling attack. It was sort of a very depleted, very, very, very negative camp at that time in India, because India lost their key players and were going to lose more. So that was something it has to be kept in mind. But it was a great inning nonetheless.
Moving on to the third day, I think the moment that sort of changed the day was Dravid being dropped.
Yeah, or more so, 2 catches. One was a very simple catch, but 2 of the catches being dropped in and over that already saw a wicket from Stuart Broad. So if those 2 would have clung, it would have really, really put a very difficult climb for India, which was almost
Absolutely. I think Dravid was on 40 when he was dropped, 40 odd, 42 something, and he went on to score 100 not out. So take away those 60 runs and you have a huge difference. The first innings deficit would have killed India right there.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have gone on to a second innings.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looked the best batsman India had in that inning, so it was important that he was taken, but he wasn't, so that sort of prolonged the ultimate demise of India in this test match.
The fourth, they saw a bit of a seesaw battle between both the sides. They were, I wouldn't say even, but India did stake a claim to come back into the match, thanks to one man, the hostile spell of Ishant Sharma, 3 for 1.
3 for 1, yes, that was something very special, and I think he found his length. That was the most important on English conditions. He had to get that length very quickly, otherwise, especially with Zaheer not being there, India would have struggled a lot, although they still did struggle, but it was a shining 15-20 minutes for Team India, that passage of play.
Absolutely, and I think one more wicket would have really put the cat amongst the pigeon in that case, and who knows, things might have been different had India just had 300 odd to chase.
Well, it would have certainly put the main tail. Broad still is not considered the actual tail of England, but it would have brought in the main tail of England. So that would have certainly made sure that India would have still looked for a victory. I mean, it's 330 runs to chase. You definitely back yourself if you are a batting heavy team like India is. You certainly back your batsmen to actually chase 330. So in that at that time, India would have certainly looked to chase those and actually go on to win the test. Imagine how the test would have turned out, and imagine how much confidence India would have had if that would have happened. Now the last day, definitely the key moment was Rahul Dravid, his wicket. We have already talked about this during this podcast, but it was such an un-Dravid-like shot to Anderson, who was not in form. Your take on that, Sarthak?
I think it was a big wicket. India's chances totally depended on how Dravid and Lakshman negotiate the first hour or say the first session on the final day. If they played well, India would have survived. But since they lost Dravid early, I think it was within the first half an hour. That made a big difference to India's chances, because then you had Raina and Sachin and everyone exposed. Sachin wasn't even at full strength, and Gambhir was coming back from an injured arm too. So for them to negotiate that first session was really, really important. And I think if they had done that, India would have definitely secured a comfortable draw. But since that did not happen, I think the result was more or less expected. So now let's move on to our last segment, which is the moment of the week. And this week we have a moment from history for you guys. 3 years ago, the first UDRS, or the Decision Review System, was employed and was in a match between India and Sri Lanka taking place this very week. And the first review was used by India, by the then captain Anil Kumble, and was unsuccessful, but that marked the entry of the Decision Review System into mainstream or international cricket. And I think India has some lingering memories from that tour which form the basis of their opinion about the system today. And let's not forget the tour where Ajanta Mendes broke onto the scene. So what do you think about India's initial impressions of the system?
It was certainly a death trap for our batsmen. I mean, it felt that they were getting stranglehold by this system. But DRS definitely has changed a lot after that. Earlier in that series, every team got 3 reviews per innings. Now you have 2, and even the technology has advanced, and in that series there was no hotspot. In now current DRS there is hotspot, which is very close to perfect. Although it's still not perfect, it's very close to perfect. So definitely advances have been made in technology to make DRS more feasible. It's time for the world game to take the DRS. It's time for the world game to take LBW calls on DRS. Maybe not predict the path, but at least the pitch map and other things that come with the DRS.
So just to talk about our picks for the performers for the next game. To refresh your memories, last game we selected 2 players each from both the teams, and we saw who performed better. And fortunately, I came out trumps, I would say. Anderson took a 5-4 and helped me trump Parth's picks, which were Bell and I think Graham Swan, was it?
No, Bell and Tremlett.
Bell and Tremlett. And I had Anderson and Jonathan Trott from England, which, well, I would say both of them performed decently well. Anderson for sure, Bell and Trott in the first innings. And from India, I had Gambhir and Zahir. Unfortunately, I lost both of them to injuries. And Parth had Sachin and
Sachin and Ishan Sharma.
Ishant Sharma. I would say Ishant performed reasonably well,
Yes.
but I think the Anderson 5-4 edges me ahead.
Yes.
So
Sadly.
just on those lines, to select another set of players for this coming match, to get the fun going, I would say from India, I'm going to bet my money on Dravid and Harbhajan. It's an unlikely selection for Harbhajan because of me, I would rather have him dropped from the second test. But the reason I picked him is because his place is really important. Him being a strike bowler, he really needs to pick up his game and perform if India are to win the next game. And that is the reason why I'm putting him there, not because he's going to be the star performer, because he's going to be a really important performer.
So you're chancing your luck on him.
Yes, let's hope it comes out.
Yes.
Comes off.
From England?
England, I would say I'm still going to stick with Jonathan Trott. I have faith in him, just like Dravid. He's basically England's wall, so I'm going to stick with players who I have faith in. And this time I'm going to say Stuart Broad instead of Anderson. But Stuart Broad, I think if he continues to bowl the way he did in this test, he's not far from a 5-4.
My pick from India. Firstly, I will like to stick up for Sachin here again. I think it's a different ball game, Trent Bridge, and he scored runs there, so he'll do well. Another player that I will pick from India is Praveen Kumar. I like the looks of him in the first test, and he'll certainly trouble the English batsmen. As far as my results from the previous attempt was concerned, Ishan played well, but the rest sort of flopped. For England, I picked Bell, and my bowling pick would be Anderson.
Sounds good. Good luck to you.
Yes, good luck to you too, sir. And also, last thing, match result.
I would say India would have done well if they can pull off a draw in the next one, after what I saw in this match.
I would say an India win. I'm confident the boys will be back. They have experienced the loss, and India has done generally well after a loss. A certain South African tour comes to mind recently, so we'll see how we go.
There you go, guys. You have a very confident Parth who has not lost faith in the Indian team. So we'll wait and watch for what the result is for the next game, and let's see what the Indian team pulls out of its hat.
You have to be really stupid to lose your mind over number one team losing just one test match. They have done really well for the last 2 years.
All right, folks, that brings us towards the end of this episode of the Cricket Hotspot podcast. Thank you for tuning in, and please do not forget to send us your feedback, comments, questions, whatever it is. We are more than happy to incorporate them, and we're just looking to make sure that you like what we're talking about.
Yes, again, like us on Facebook, the Cricket Hotspot podcast, and email us at questions@thecrickethotspot.com. We'll definitely try to answer all the queries, and hope to see a very good second test at Trent Bridge, India versus England.
Thank you, folks, and hope to see you next week.
Yes, thanks to you all. Bye.